Hello there, Star Wars toy fans. This is Jim, and welcome back to my channel. Well, the focus of today's video happens to be the retro collection of the Ahsoka series, which just a few weeks ago I finally completed. Now, I know there are lots of videos out there on that, and you've probably already watched those, but hopefully those of you that follow my channel, you will find this video interesting. But first, what I want to show you is a wonderful addition to my collection that my wife just gave me. If you followed my channel for any length of time, you know that I keep my figures in the original cases, and she designed a cover for the Book of Boba Fett case, and that's where I keep all of my retro and vintage collection figures. Isn't that just awesome? I mean, just look at that. She did that with Adobe Photoshop, just took various photos and then overlaid them. And then I just glued it down to the top of the case and then took some clear vinyl and just tacked it down just for wear. I mean, it could be easily pulled off if necessary. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And if Hasbro happens to make enough Ahsoka figures, then I'll probably get a case for that as well. But we'll use that as the background for today. Let's start off with the star of the series, which happens to be Ahsoka. Now, if you collect the retro collection, you already know this fact, and I'll place the other Ahsoka from the Mandalorian series to her right. These are exactly the same figures. You'll notice here, you just take off the shawl, and you'll see exactly the same. So the only reason why you may want to collect this is either you like the different card backs, which I'll show you in a moment, or you want this fancy piece of fabric. Now, this happens to be a very similar type of material to Luke Skywalker in his Jedi outfit from 1983, the one that Kenner produced. Very similar, kind of, if you got rough skin, it attaches to your fingers, kind of sticky. She has exactly the same weapons that came out with the Mandalorian. I didn't bother to get those out. If you haven't seen this figure before, it's really nicely done. Some great detail on the head. And she has 5 points of articulation, so she can sit in the ship. The head moves really nicely. And there's the difference between the two. You see the Mandalorian on my left and Ahsoka on my right. The back side happens to be very, very similar, just with different names. Now, moving to the left, we'll take a look at Hera Syndulla. This is one of the finest figures, I think, out of the whole collection as far as mirroring the actress goes. She comes with this really oddball-looking blaster, and she holds it really well. I mean, it's a nice firm grip. Let's say I can shake the figure, and it's not going to come out. She has 5 points of articulation, so she could sit in the Ghost, which is a vintage collection ship Hasbro's producing. I'm not acquiring it, just way too much money. Hopefully, some of you guys may have the budget to get that, because it looks really cool. This is really greatly detailed. Just look at the helmet there. I'm not coming up with the right name, but similar type of thing World War I pilots wore. The vest has all sorts of detail, from the rebel symbol to this little silver square to that little circle. I'm not sure what that is. Boots, holsters, a little bit small. It's like she has the Mandalorian symbol on the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can see that up close. I'm not really sure. At the head, not like Boba Fett's Mandalorian, but like the Mandalorian creature. Anyway, her head kind of turns, but the tentacles get in the way. And here happens to be her card with some purple background. And there's the back side. I won't show this anymore because they're pretty much all the same. Now, continuing to move to the left, we had to have Chopper. And Chopper is really well done. I mean, all these figures are really well done, in my opinion. The legs have these little stops in them. So, unlike R2 and R5-D4 from the Kenner days, which they just rotated freely, this actually has these little stops. And you can go all the way to the top, but I think the head gets in the way. Notice the paper sticker there. And the head does turn and click. The radar dish, if that's what that is, does not come up. It's stationary. And the wheel does not spin, it's fixed, just one solid piece of plastic, but you can rotate it around. So neat to have another retro astromech droid. There's the card. Now another well-sculpted figure happens to be Sabine Wren. And just look at the detail on that. I mean, the paint scheme's really bright, vibrant colors. Really well done for a retro collection type of figure. And she holds two guns. They kind of remind me of little kitty squirt guns, just the colors of them. And she holds them pretty well in the hand. I mean, it's not going anywhere. You know, I can shake that. So Hasbro did a great job of sculpting their hands there. She also comes with a lightsaber similar to Luke's, the one that came with Return of the Jedi in 1983. And then a real awesome feature happens to be the helmet pops off. And there you can see the sculpt of the head with the purple hair. I think that the camera might be a little out of focus. Sorry about that. That comes right on and off. Too bad that they didn't do this with the Mandalorian retro figures. That would have been really awesome to be able to take off the helmet for those. And I forgot to mention, yeah, she can fully sit, so she could ride along with Hera in the Ghost if she chooses. Some of the vintage collection figures, you know, you can't get them to sit. There's the card. Now we'll move to the back left and take a look at Morok. Speaking of cards, there's his. They need to get rid of that retro sticker because it gets in the way. Here's a lightsaber. This is the one that the Inquisitors use, but that only has half of a ring on it. And he holds that pretty well. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. He kind of reminds me of a modernized knight from the Round Table. Head turns, arms move up and down. If Hasbro were to make him a ship, he could sit in it, which is nice. Really well sculpted details on the back. See a little red dot there on either side. My main complaint with this figure happens to be the cape. See how big that hole is there? I mean, that just falls off him. It just drapes. I don't know if that was their intention. Maybe it's supposed to drape over the shoulder like that. That's probably what it's supposed to do, and I'm just uneducated. But in the collector case, it tends to fall out. It's too bad it didn't have a little bit of elastic in there just to hold it together. And the fabrics, similar fabric to this, I think it's a little bit cheaper. Now the next two figures on this list, I think they should have replaced with Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. But instead, we get the HK-87 Assassin Droid and Morgan Elsbeth. Now let's take a look at the Assassin Droid. So here we happen to have the droid. And some detail there on the back. He has his weapon. He holds it really well. So I guess if you wanted to build an army of these, you could. 5 points for articulation, just like normal. Real nice stiff joints. Of course, it's brand new. And as a kid, maybe you'd want to play with these. You'd think that would be cool. There happens to be the card. Again, personally, I would rather have had Baylan Skoll over him, or especially over her. This is the most disappointing figure of them all, in my opinion. This equates to the Imperial Dignitary of the Power of the Force line. I mean, there's no weapon, just a big chunk of plastic. And I don't know what Hasbro was thinking when they produced her. I mean, the likeness is really good, and she has, again, 5 points for articulation. She can sit, which is, of course, necessary if you want her to sit in a chair or a ship. Head turns, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, it's what the figure looked like, but there's no weapon, nothing, just the figure. And if I was a little boy, the figures that I would want would be Chopper and those two. Now, of course, maybe I'd want those three main characters, but I probably would not have purchased that one, just because there's nothing to offer. Really disappointing. Again, Balin's skull should have been the primary one, easily over those two, and even Shinhati. I mean, she should have taken the place of either of those two. Here's the card. Now, I happen to include, because they didn't make Grand Admiral Thrawn in the retro collection, I included him from the expanded universe. These came out in the late 90s, I think 1997. And hopefully they will make a retro version of Thrawn. He's got this weird little creature there that comes from the Heir to the Empire series. And he has 6 points for articulation, so the waist turns, and he can fully sit. And at the time, you know, we didn't have the actor, so they just did their best on based on the comic book series, I think is where they got that look from. And if you want to get that for your collection, there's the card that you are looking for, the expanded universe. And you can still get these fairly inexpensively. There's the back side to that. And there's the whole expanded universe line. It'll be interesting to see which ones Hasbro tends to pick up, or which one Disney Channel tends to put into their series. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you haven't got the retro collection, again, you know, I just have to say it's really outstanding. The figures are very well sculpted. They're well detailed. This is my preference over any vintage collection figure. I just grew up in the day with the vintage Kenner line, and this just kind of continues on the same theme that I've been collecting over the years. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give this a thumbs up if you liked the video, and we'll see you on a future video. Take care.